Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls from all over the world, my name is Brandon, aka Rags to Riches, and as always, I have absolutely no idea why you are here right now. In fact, I must remind you right here,
Rags to Riches. Do not like, comment, or subscribe.
And right now, Hex McKenzie, she's in bed right now. She's about to go see those nice little sheep. All right. I think we're breaking my computer. I've got too much going on, but it is all good. Hex McKenzie in the house. Pulse Former, Sup Rags. Hex Hoddle in the house. What is good in the Hex Hoddle hood? My last resort when nothing else. Yo, D-Gen, Dougie, my online ghost. What's good, everyone? I'm here. I know you think I am Mr. Gloom and Doom. Do I think that? Do you think that I think that? Is that how we're doing it here? Okay. Steak and Jake, JDB, what's up, Rags? Dope beat, loving the new intro. Guys, in my efforts to bring the best possible experience for you folks who have refused my pleas time and time again to stay the hell away, I might as well make something worth you guys sticking around for. I hate it. Okay, don't get me wrong here. It goes against everything that I'm about. But it is what it is. So we're going to get 1% every 1% better every day. Mobius, what's up? Evo, pumped. Ginger, nonstop. I'm Ginger pumped. Brandon just told us to click the like button. Hail to the nah. Nah, Brandon didn't say that. Bobby Hexelrod in the house, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to go over today? We got a lot of stuff to go over as always. I spent most of the day trying to rework my stream. So we got quite a few things going on here. Trying to figure out why this chat box doesn't work. Maybe we can figure it out on the fly. Chat delay, there it is. Okay. Awesome. No chat delay. Theme clean, hide delay. Do I want to hide that delay? I don't really want to hide it. Let's just bring it in. Yeah, we'll bring it in here. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's not working. All right, all good. We'll figure it out eventually. This is our first stream in here. First thing that I want to kind of go over here, make sure these buttons work while we're at it. Cool, looks like this does work. Okay, that's neat. That shows that. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. Let's go to CPI preview. All right, Bitcoin unlikely to get bullish catalyst. If you guys have been following along here, there's a lot of folks that are just super bullish on crypto, and I want to be super bullish on crypto. Don't get me wrong, right? This has been a brutal bear market. How much longer do we have? I'm not sure, okay? The markets are up a little bit right now, which is good. So I'm going to kind of get into this article here. We're going to talk about it. CPI preview. Markets are already expecting the Fed to refrain from more rate hikes this year and have begun pricing in rate cuts in 2024. Bitcoin bulls are hoping for continued good news on the U.S. inflation front from Thursday morning's July Consumer Price Index report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Economists expect a 0.2% increase on a monthly basis. The same increase as seen in June. Year over year growth is forecast at 3.3%, up from 3% in June. We kind of went over this yesterday. We touched on it. It's going to be a narrative that's going to be forming right now, right? We always said that if inflation starts to get 3% or just under, there's going to be enough momentum to the downside for them to consider permanent pause or potentially rate cuts. I'm very, very careful, and I'm very, very skeptical that the economy is going to boom Q3, Q4. In fact, I don't think it's going to boom. I think that we will have some sort of correction, which kind of ties in to what we talked about with the title of this stream here. All right, and I'm going to get into that as well. So let's get into the next thing here. Bitcoin pushes higher to above 29.5 thousand after weak China data sends yields plunging. After touching a 2023 high around 4.2% last week, The yield on a 10-year treasury has tumbled below 4%. Crypto markets are posting gains on Tuesday as long-dated government bond yields head sharply lower across the globe, following far weaker than expected Chinese trade numbers for July. Guys, what this signals is, you got to think about it this way. If you're the government and let's just say people are purchasing bonds, are you going to lock your stuff up for 10 years if you think that the economy is absolute garbage in 10 years? Probably not, right? They're probably not going to do that. The same thing with this. The, let's see here. Yeah, tumble below 4%. If you think that in 10 years, the economy is going to be much better, are people more likely to purchase those bonds? Or are they more likely to sell those bonds? We're seeing a direct supply and demand effect right here. Crypto markets are posting gains on Tuesdays. Long-dated government bond yields head sharply lower across the globe, following far weaker than expected Chinese trade numbers for July. The move also comes one day after payments giant PayPal announced plans to issue a stablecoin in the coming days. BTC rose 3% over the last 24 hours to 29,600, leading the CoinDesk Market Index, CMI, to a 2.41% advance. Other movers, Solana, TON, and Chainlink, all sporting more than 3%. China overnight reported a 12.4% year-over-year decline in imports in July, more than double the drop forecast by economists. Exports fell 14.5%, worse than estimates for a 12.4% drop. Okay, declines at those levels haven't been seen since the COVID-19 lockdowns, and news suggests Beijing may have to take additional steps to stimulate China's economy. Well, what does that mean, guys? If you want to stimulate the economy, you have to make money very cheap. That's exactly what that means. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield is lower by 11 basis points to 3.98%. At one point last week, the 10-year was at a 2023 high, just shy of 4.2%. Yields on long-dated government bonds across Europe are posted even steeper declines on Tuesday, including in Germany, where the 10-year bond yield is down 15.4 basis points. And guys, I do want to point out, let us zoom in here. I need to know what exactly a bund is, because that sounds really cool. That sounds like a problem that you have on the bottom of your foot, or maybe a really nice piece of bread from the deli. What do you guys think there? What do you guys say about that? Okay. FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried will still face campaign finance related charge, DOJ says. So the DOJ dropped a campaign finance charge against Bankman-Fried last month, and everybody went crazy. The other misinformation that was circulating around was that Sam Bankman-Fried got out of jail free. Okay, no charges on Sam Bankman-Fried, but that's because nobody's reading the headlines. They didn't understand what was happening here. Sam Bankman-Fried is still going. Now, here's what's interesting. I think that the latest estimate was something like $90 million was donated to members of Congress in total. 90 million? That's quite a bit. Okay, that's quite a bit of money. And then FTX actually asked members of Congress for some of that money back. So this right here has been suppressed because it has the absolute ability to blow up in everybody's face. And they certainly don't want to do that, I don't think. For some reason they stay away from this. They'll attack presidential candidates, but they don't stir up trouble apart from those presidential candidates during election years. And I don't understand that. But if the media were to get access to some of the information that the DOJ has about the payments that were sent, if you guys remember this too, I made the case that this relatively unknown frickin' nerd, Sam Bankman-Fried, comes out of nowhere. I think within a course of 18 months, his company goes from a valuation of, I think it was nearly $2 million, all the way up to $1.5 billion. How does that happen? That doesn't happen unless you know people, right? So who knew who to get him to that point? It was his mother and his father, right? His mother, if I'm not mistaken, she ran a non-profit, okay, it was actually a super PAC whose sole mission and sole purpose was to raise money from CEOs from Silicon Valley in such a way that was very clandestine for the Democrat Party. Okay, so she is a professor at Stanford. Her husband's a professor at Stanford as well. So my theory is that she introduced all of these CEOs, all of these folks, and funneled money from them to his son and probably back to her somehow. And there's a lot of politicians involved with this. So that's what we're looking at here. Prosecutors will file a superseding indictment next week, bringing 7 charges against Sam Bankman-Fried for the October trial. Each of these charges will be from the original indictment, excluding only a campaign finance charge that the DOJ dropped to comply with the U.S. extradition treaty with the Bahamas. Okay, so he got extradited. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. It'll be interesting to see if this information actually comes to the public forefront. That I do not know. I haven't the slightest. All right. Here's one little benefit, potentially. Let's look into the future here, all right? Now, this article kind of talks about this, but this gave me an idea too. It sparked a little idea in my head. So this article says, where will Bitcoin mining be after the halving? It's no secret that Bitcoin mining has come under fire for its potential impact on the environment due to its energy consumption. Nobody in the industry is shying away from the fact that Bitcoin did not start out as the best environmental, social, and governance / ESG investment. However, the mining industry has since become one of the most self-aware when it comes to its energy consumption, and as a result has created multiple potential pathways to environmentally friendly solutions that could benefit industries and regions beyond Bitcoin. So what's interesting here, former petroleum engineer Raina Shah says Bitcoin miners will need to embrace eco-friendly trends like flare gas recovery and nuclear power after mining revenues are cut. Very interesting, folks. Here's why. You have the Bitcoin halving, which means every block that is processed divvies out a reward. And the people who were responsible, who participated in cracking the code for that block, are going to receive rewards for that block. What's the problem? After the Bitcoin halving, which occurs approximately maybe like April, every 240,000 blocks, when that occurs, the amount of Bitcoin that is going to be rewarded to people for securing the network is going to decrease. So there's the supply shock. Okay, so just logically speaking here, if you are a Bitcoin miner and you have consideration in massive amounts of Bitcoin machines, and maybe they're outdated, maybe you have 100,000 Bitcoin machines, okay, ant miners or whatever they have now. I've not kept up with it since about 2019. That Bitcoin halving occurs. That means those machines that were specifically built with the hash power on board, the computing power, they were specifically built for whatever that halving cycle was previously. Now, in some ways, they're going to become obsolete. Not completely obsolete, but you have one of two options. The first option that you have is you can go and you can purchase more efficient miners. Okay, so not only efficient from a hash power standpoint, but also efficient from a power consumption standpoint. So whatever's the latest and greatest out there, whatever Bitmain is conjuring up to make these boards more powerful, to be able to compete with everybody else. That's one option. So you can replace your whole fleet. That costs a lot of money. The second option you have is if you need just as much energy, right? If you need just as much energy to do actually the less work because your rewards are halved, then you're going to have to add more Bitcoin miners. So it's not just about replacing. You could just go the cheap route, add more miners of the same thing that you have now. But what does that cause? we're running into a situation where the energy consumption is going to be vast, because I guarantee you a lot of those folks, you know, there's going to be a massive amount of demand for those new miners. So what are you going to do? Are you going to add additional miners to the tune of, you know, whatever the math is, a third more miners, 50% more miners, 100% more miners to get the same reward to make your company profitable? How does this work here? In comes nuclear energy. The one thing that these people, I guarantee you, these people, these leftists who really control politics, who control most of the world's governments, who control the policy on Capitol Hill about cryptocurrency for the most part right now, these Ivy League educated folks, these folks who have been indoctrinated in universities in the Western world, they hate nuclear power. They think they hate nuclear power because it has something to do with making the planet worse. That's the lie. And I think that probably is the lie that was planted to keep people's hands into oil and out of nuclear, because nuclear is better. So my question is this: when Bitcoin miners are in the need of super cheap power, super cheap electricity, are they going to start lobbying for the one thing that their party absolutely hates? I would say that I see this coming. I see this train wreck coming probably in the next 5 years. 3 to 5 years, I would imagine. So let's keep going here. They're talking about flare gas. I've not heard of flare gas until this point. Flare gas, also known as associated gas, is a byproduct of oil extraction processes. Traditionally, it has been flared or burned into the atmosphere, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions and wasting valuable energy resources. Forward-thinking Bitcoin mining operations have recognized flare gas and the opportunity to utilize it to power their mining operations. But how? This seems like the stupidest idea in the world, folks. First, you're under the false premise that global warming is going to kill us all, which is just complete garbage. Global warming is going to lead to an absolute abundance in life from top to bottom. Just want to point that out. If you disagree with me, I don't care. Instead of releasing the gas into the atmosphere, Bitcoin miners redirect the flare gas to power mining facilities using specialized equipment. All of this is going to cost more money. What is the obvious solution right now? The obvious solution is nuclear. Okay, and you don't have to have large-scale nuclear power plants to take care of business here. The nuclear technology has significantly improved since the proliferation of nuclear technology in, you know, the 60s and 70s and 80s. Significantly safer too. All right. Harnessing flare gas. I mean, this is stupid, man. Flare gas. This is like harnessing cow farts. Harnessing flare gas does not only bring us into carbon neutral era for Bitcoin mining, but it also serves as a secondary benefit of providing a secondary purpose for an otherwise wasted resource in the oil and gas industry. Bitcoin mining in this way from recaptured energy sources plays a vital role in the demand response of power grids, especially in Texas. Bitcoin miners dynamically adjust their load participation to help balance power grids. These timely adjustments instantly trim power usage so the grid can have an adequate supply during natural disasters. You know what they're describing here? They're describing what John Metcalf talks about. Okay, so decentralization in everything, including energy. If you can decentralize energy and you can store energy from an individual unit spread across thousands and thousands and thousands of homes, then everybody can kind of pull off each other's stores and the power grid becomes very, very resilient. And that's what they're talking about here. Bitcoin mining can significantly reduce its carbon footprint. I don't give a damn about the freaking carbon footprint. All right? I don't care. It's the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard in my life. And all these people here, and in order to mine Bitcoin, they had to dodge the whole idea that it was destroying the environment. That's what they had to do. And it was hilarious to see all that occurring with Elizabeth Warren, just attack after attack. It's killing the planet. Yeah, no, Bitcoin mining is not killing the planet. They never talked about all of the buildings that traditional banking owns, right? They never talked about all the server farms that traditional banking owns. They never talked about all the ATMs that have to be powered 24/7. They never talked about the fancy lights lighting their signs at night so they can advertise at night. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about all the millions of cell phones that get plugged into the wall at the banking industry with all of this overhead, all this energy everywhere. Everywhere. But Bitcoin, that's the problem. Okay? They don't talk about any of that. Many developing nations lack centralized grids due to a deficiency of infrastructure and funding. Instead, communities could create microgrids and generate energy on site coupled with Bitcoin mining, gaining a potential revenue stream through reliable energy until it doesn't work anymore. You're onboarding the world to dump Bitcoin on everybody's head. This innovative approach is gaining traction alongside another, more recent eco-friendly solution, nuclear power. Ooh. I guarantee you're not going to see much about this in the short term because the word nuclear power is absolute kryptonite to eco-nuts. Okay, even though it's probably one of the safest things for the planet imaginable. They have been compromised. They don't have the ability to think clearly, concisely, and critically about these things. So Bitcoin explores the nuclear option. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is not the only reason nuclear power has been trending lately. A string of recent announcements from mining operations are looking to use nuclear power as the prominent players in Bitcoin mining look to double their hash rate into the future. The steady and consistent energy output provided by nuclear power is critical for the continuous and uninterrupted operation required by Bitcoin mining facilities. Given that nuclear power is a zero-carbon base load resource, as it does not produce direct carbon dioxide emissions, this does not make it explicitly a renewable green energy source compared to hydro or geothermal. Instead, it creates a new incentive for miners to scale more efficiently as the computational needs become larger through the upcoming Bitcoin halving. We talked about that. With stringent safety protocols in place, the potential benefits of nuclear power in reducing Bitcoin's environmental impact cannot be overlooked. However, in the current regulatory climate across the entire crypto industry, it is not likely that we see swift and specific legislation providing guidance around nuclear power in Bitcoin. In 2021 alone, the United States removed about 475 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, just from nuclear energy production. Now, how much is that, Rags? You know, give me some perspective here. That's the equivalent of 100 million fossil fuel cars on the road in a year for the amount of CO2 that they produce. Wow, that's quite a bit. As mentioned previously, all Bitcoin miners will be looking heavily at their operations and how to increase output and efficiency post-halving. The integration of flare gas solutions, and the exploration of nuclear power are but two solutions being pursued by the Bitcoin mining industry. I'll say this, guys. I really need to get into this, and I need to study this. I mean, what are your thoughts on solar? Solar seems like if you're going to be a Bitcoin miner, if you're going to go down that road, isn't that probably the best route for everybody to go? I mean, there's crazy stats. If you took a small amount, what is it? Elon said if you took like a 20 square mile portion of southeast or southwest Utah, it could power the entire United States with solar power if you put solar panels in that area. Something to that effect. I probably just butchered that, but it's not too far off. In fact, let me do this. I'm interested in seeing this. What did Elon say? What Elon say about solar power in the United States? Solar panels, maybe? Let's check it out. Yeah, using a 100 by 100 mile patch of land, you could power the entire United States with solar energy. Terrence says solar is extremely toxic. Why is solar toxic? What is toxic about solar? Educate me here, because I am in the process of learning this now. I really have not gotten into it. Really have not. All right. This is going to piss some people off. UK central bank forges ahead with plans for a systemic stablecoin regime. The UK recently passed the Financial Services and Markets Act of 2023 into law, which gave the Bank of England powers to set up a systemic, and that's the key word there, systemic stablecoin regime. So that means that it's going to permeate into every aspect of your life. That's what systemic means. The Bank of England plans to carry on with its plans for a systemic stablecoin regime, a consultation response showed Monday. The consultation set out that systemic stablecoins would be supervised by both the Bank of England and the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, which was welcomed by respondents. Respondents and the government also supported extending the accountability framework, which evaluates whether the regulator's approach is future-proof to systemic stablecoins. How do you guys feel about that? It's very interesting how everybody just forgets. It's very interesting how BlackRock comes to the forefront and they're trying to pump Bitcoin. Okay. It's very interesting how during this entire bear market, all these countries and all these nations, they are building the infrastructure for the CBDCs. And now we arrive at the point where they're just out in the open about it. They just don't care anymore. They're like, we're going to do this. And this is what's going to happen. At least there's some record out there of some folks who said, hey guys, this is bad news. This is bad news bears. You better hold on to your cash, ladies and gentlemen. You better hold on to your cash. The mining necessary to acquire the material to build the short-lived panels isn't very environmentally friendly. Oh, I don't care. I don't care about that. Does it? Would a 100 by 100 area power the United States? Would it? Is that worth it? That seems kind of worth it. Or you could, like I said, you could go the other route. This daggone chat box is pissing me off, Lou. I mean, what? You gotta sign in? How come it is not working? Well, we'll have to figure that out later. Makes no daggone sense. All right. No worries. We'll figure it out. I bet you got to sign in or something. Is that what it is? Sign into chat? No, I don't want to do that. Screw that. Okay. Kathy Wood and Mike Novogratz are both bullish on spot Bitcoin ETF approvals. So we're waiting for these ETFs to come out. Everybody in the world's waiting for these ETFs. What's the deal here? I watched an interview with Woods very recently here, Kathy Wood rather. And she's been buying Coinbase stock. She's been buying Bitcoin this entire time. And she made the point that Gary Gensler was getting grilled by Congress, and he said something to the effect that, hey, it's not just me. There's 5 or 6 other chairs here. There's 5 or 6 other people making the decisions in the SEC. And I think there's 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So she took that as, listen, my name's Gary Gensler, and I don't know why the whole world hates me right now. There's 5 other people making these decisions. She's kind of seeing that as him kind of giving in right now. So there is some information. There is some conjecture that the Bitcoin ETF is going to be approved sometime within the next 4 to 6 months. ARK Invest CEO Kathy Wood and Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz are both optimistic about the imminent approval of a spot Bitcoin BTC ETF. I think the SEC, if it's going to approve a Bitcoin ETF, will approve more than one at once, said Wood. Speaking on this company's earnings call on Tuesday morning, Novogratz, citing sources at BlackRock and Invesco, said it's not a question of if, but when. One of the 8 currently outstanding applications for a spot Bitcoin ETF will receive SEC approval. It's coming. So interesting. So let's say we take it out 4 to 6 months. All right. They were saying that in some of the articles that I was taking a look at. If it's 4 to 6 months, let's kind of go over some things here. Let's see where we are in the markets. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I'll give you guys the crash course here. You guys have seen it a million times. We basically have this extremely powerful trend line that was established all the way back in 2011. And Bitcoin has respected this trend line throughout its entire history in a pretty significant way, I might add. Okay. Each one of these green lines represent the halvenings. When the reward structure for Bitcoin or the inflation that's divvied out is cut in half. Okay. So we have our next halvening coming up Monday, April of 24, Monday 15th. So we'll see. It might be before, it might be after that. But what's the big news here? Okay. The big news is I created this pink arrow to potentially indicate, folks, when that spot ETF for Bitcoin could be approved. Interestingly enough, this pushes it out probably around January of 24, which is just before the Bitcoin halving. Now, I think this would be a buy the rumor or buy the news, sell the rumor event. Now, why do I think that? I don't know the actual reason. I don't know the mechanisms why. But let's take a look in the past. Just before the Bitcoin halvings, we've had massive sell-offs. Massive sell-offs. I don't know if this is to trigger the market, to freak them out. Obviously, this was COVID. But even if COVID hadn't happened here, what you notice is there was a pump occurring before COVID, and it probably would have corrected back down right at the halving. Same thing happens here. Right on the halving, we had a sell-off. Back to this trend line that was established. Okay. Right before the halving, we have a sell-off. Right before the halving occurs. So I wonder if we're going to see the Bitcoin spot ETF approved. Okay. And it's a huge hype event that is really a nothing burger. And maybe we correct back down to this trend line, which is around, 30,000 at that time. Or the other option here is, we could also be correcting back down maybe 20 or 30%, which happens often, mind you. I'm going to turn on the 20-week SMA. These are the bull market bands. Okay. So, and I'll turn off this one and I'll add the other one. Okay. This is the 20-week SMA. And really to have a bull market, you need to be above the 20-week SMA. So we go back here to May of 20. We see it's absolutely ripping to the upside. Okay, so if you're going to have a bull market or you're just going to have a micro bull run, like an altcoin summer type of event or deal, then you need to be above that. Now, this is the Bitcoin chart. So what are we looking at? Bitcoin has been above the 20-week SMA for the better part of 6 months now, 6 to 8 months, 8 months. So when we popped up above here and we've used this pretty well as support each time it's come back down to test. All right. It's come back down to test, but also each time it's losing strength to the upside. So the question here becomes, is this little candle that's formed after it is just sold off and touched, is this candle that has been formed, is it going to continue the trend to the upside, or are we going to break through this to the downside? If we do break through this to the downside, we could be looking at a 20% drop before we touch this extremely strong level trend line. And guys, you got to understand that this represents behavior, and this also represents something in the computer's minds, the algorithms, because they recognize this trend line too. They know that that's there. So they'll try to trade into that. So let's take a look back in history to see if during a bear market, if we have, how many times we've actually fallen below. So obviously we had 2018. 2018 is a very, very striking example of this, where we just couldn't manage to get back above this for over a year. Touch, reject, touch, reject, touch, reject, touch, reject, and then fell off the face of the earth. Finally, we got up above it, and then that was, let's see here. That was 182 days, so about 6 months worth, and then we fell back underneath, even leading right up to the Bitcoin halving. All right, so if we're taking a look at this, it fell underneath only 200 days before the Bitcoin halving, which kind of happens to be in the time frame that we're looking at right now. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 times in 2017, 18, 19, 2018, 19, 20, 4 times that it fell underneath. So we've had this fall off. Okay, so when the market was correcting, it tried to get up above once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, rejected 5 times. You saw a little squeeze here, squeezed and popped up above. Now the question is, will it fall back underneath? It fell back underneath 4 times after popping up above in previous cycles. Are we going to see that it fall underneath now? Are we going to see that leading all the way up? Now, let's take a look at this too. This is the 50 week. If you can get up above the 20 and the 50, it's pretty powerful. So currently right now, Bitcoin is above the 20 and the 50. If it falls through the 20-week support, it comes down into 24,000. Okay, so probably 24,000 all the way to about 22,000. I think it would be very, very difficult, barring some type of absolute catastrophic event, for Bitcoin to fall through 20,000. All right, I'm not saying it can't happen. It doesn't seem likely, in my opinion. So if that happens, folks, what is going to happen to altcoins? What is going to happen to altcoins? I'm here to tell you, folks. Judging by history, judging by previous market cycles, I mean, we even go back here. I mean, the patterns are crazy. Go back to 2014. Almost the same pattern playing out. If the pattern plays out the same way, Bitcoin falls through these support levels, what's it going to mean for altcoins? Guys, I hate to tell you this. We have 7 or 8 months of Bitcoin being above the bull market support bands, the 20 SMA and the 50 week. Altcoins, however, this is the crypto total market cap excluding BTC and ETH. So it's not BTC and ETH, it's all the other altcoins. Guys, this has looked extremely weak this entire time. I mean, since the top here, since it's fallen through, guys, we've been 595 days now. 595 days of no sustained movement above these two areas. Right now is pretty pivotal. If Bitcoin decides to fall through, and we're looking at an extremely weak altcoin market. I mean, to tell you guys the truth here, we did see a nice little pump from June all the way to July. There's people making a lot of money in altcoins. But you gotta remember this. Altcoin is also liquidity for Bitcoin. Altcoin is also liquidity for Bitcoin. All the liquidity in the altcoins are being drained. And that's kind of evidenced as well by Bitcoin dominance. So you have all these narratives that are running around right now. And the narratives are Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin BlackRock. Everybody's taking all their money and putting it into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin dominance continues to increase. As Bitcoin dominance continues to increase, altcoins continue to show massive amounts of weakness. If we see a capitulation, or not a capitulation, but if we see a fall off in Bitcoin and Bitcoin falls 20 or 30%, I think that that is going to be, and not only myself, many others, Benjamin Cohen and others, I think that that is going to signal the final capitulation event for altcoins, because there's just absolutely no strength. They cannot bounce above. They can't. So I wanted to give you guys a basic update on what I'm thinking here. What are we thinking moving forward? I'll say this, guys. We are certainly past halfway. We are inching up on this halvening. I expect some type of maybe 20, at least 15 to 30% fall off before the halvening, just based on history. And that could have something to do with these mining companies, and they got to get rid of equipment. They got to make a final push just before the halvening, so they have to sell off to go buy more stuff, to go buy more energy efficient, hash efficient computers, miners, ASICs. Let's check chat here, since you guys are not doing anything whatsoever. Astronologist seems to be have rejected 30K yet once again, so 11K in prey. Wind dump altcoins to front run next bear. Sandy Scholl says blood. Saw $100 BTC in 2014 and didn't buy. Grateful I found Hex in 2020. Outstanding. Did you know that Rags is talking? Shh, quiet, he says. AJ Rip City Hex, dude. AJ knows what's up. Most use thorium reactors, which produce next to no waste. It could be used for can't be used for weapons. Is that like a salt-based reactor? I really need to get into that. That actually really excites me. Definitely nuclear. Rolls-Royce have many reactors you could put up. Yeah, I mean, Rolls-Royce, aircraft carriers, submarines. I mean, they have tactical nuclear weapons now. They just blow up 2 city blocks. That's it. Nuclear much better than solar. Solar power to that level would do more harm than good. Plus, it's intermittent. What? Sandy Scholes, what you talking about, Willis? Is it intermittent? Oh, maybe you're talking about solar. Yeah, okay, I got you. Get your dry power ready. Crypto Trucker says. KD in the house. What is good? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're keeping it simple. We're keeping it sweet. We're keeping it chill. I've got some new music for you guys. I promise to get the chat display fixed by tomorrow. Got some new music for you, some new intros, some new outros. We're going to be adding some cool stuff in here. Just trying to get better every day. As always, ladies and gentlemen, quick reminder.
Rags to riches. Do not like, comment, or subscribe.
I do not like any of you. Have a twisted and horrible evening. Good night.